A paradox is when something or someone has two qualities that seem to contradict each other. Have you heard of the strength and weakness paradox? The strength and weakness paradox is the idea that in the face of weakness, you can have strength if that weakness is also there. It's the idea that you can't have the strength unless you also have the weakness. I have come to be strengthened by people who are particularly weak. The type of person I have in mind are born with severe physical disabilities, and they have those disabilities for their whole lives. My brother is one of these people. I grew up caring for him, and besides that, I've also worked as a caregiver to several people about my age who can't speak or walk. They spend their lives in wheelchairs that they can't push themselves. They can't feed themselves. In my brother's case, he was fed through a tube connected to a hole put surgically into his stomach. These individuals have no expression of language. They usually wear diapers through adulthood. They are fully aware of their surroundings. Usually all 5 senses are intact for them. They can touch, taste, smell, hear, see. They love people. You can usually tell that is the case by the way they smile at them. In their suffering, they possess a hidden power. That power has come to strengthen me, and it can also strengthen you. When you meet someone like this who can't walk and can't speak, it's easy to immediately feel uncomfortable. Social norms of interaction no longer seem to apply. For those of us who can take care of ourselves, their lives are hard to relate to. They can't shake your hand. Their arms might be flailed down at their sides. If you say hello when you encounter them, they might be able to make eye contact with you from the lower vantage point of their bed or wheelchair. But to do that, they might need to turn or lift up their head. To do that, they might need 2 minutes. 2 whole minutes. And you're there, standing in front of them, waiting, feeling awkward. That's the first stroke of strength. They are not aware of the awkwardness you're feeling. They're just aware of your existence, and of your existence intersecting theirs. Welcoming your presence is their goal. If you stick it out, when you do make eye contact, you will be met with a smile. It's a special smile. I like to think it's exactly what F. Scott Fitzgerald has in mind when he describes in this part of The Great Gatsby. He smiled understandingly, much more than understandingly. It was one of those rare smiles with a quality of eternal reassurance in it that you may come across 4 or 5 times in life. It faced, or seemed to face, the whole eternal world for an instant, and then concentrated on you with an irresistible prejudice in your favor. It understood you just as far as you wanted to be understood, believed in you as you would like to believe in yourself, and assured you that it had precisely the impression of you that at your best you hoped to convey. There is a reason we all long to have someone in our lives who will look at us like this. It's because of something we don't like to admit about ourselves. As human beings, we are vulnerable. To be vulnerable is to be capable of being easily hurt or harmed physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. Suffering is not the same thing as vulnerability. Vulnerability often leads to suffering, but it doesn't have to. When you meet someone who can't speak, can't walk, and can't take care of themselves, you are meeting someone who is offering you a gentle invitation to overcome your own fear of personal weakness. Someone who has severe physical disabilities has a life of suffering. But what is truer about them than their suffering is their vulnerability. Their vulnerability is obvious because it manifests in their bodies. They can't help their vulnerable circumstances. They can't hide their suffering. And they aren't trying to explain their neediness away. This is their hidden power. They are not afraid of death. They are free from the anxiety of trying to control their lives. They are free from the insecurity of trying to make something of themselves. The first time I met Krista, she's in her 20s, and that's not her real name, she was using the bathroom. I pretty soon became her caregiver, and things got personal quick. That first time I saw her, someone walked ahead of me into the bathroom, so I just saw her face through the slit in the door. She was making eye contact with me and smiling. She was excited that this new voice in the house was finally coming in to say hi to her. Her sense of humor is very goofy. I started making a list of sounds that make her laugh. For example, grunts of exertion by other people, like me. We were on a long walk outside the whole time. She was perfectly quiet. And then at the end, I was pushing her up a bit of a steep hill. So I'm like this, pushing her, and she's right here in front of me. And I let out, oof. Immediately, out of the silence, she cracks up. And then I start laughing that she's laughing, and then she laughs harder. She does tend to laugh at others' misfortunes. Traffic jams make her laugh. On another walk through the streets of Manhattan, we passed a man digging through cans in a recycling bin. As we passed him, she just started laughing at the sound of the cans clinking together in the bin. For someone like Krista with severe physical disabilities, their greatest weakness is physical. For those of us who don't have such disabilities, our greatest weakness is emotional, mental, and spiritual. They need us to care for their bodies. We need them to care for our souls. You might think you don't know the first thing about becoming friends with someone who has such severe disabilities. Their inherent vulnerability is your invitation to try, even if you have to expose your own vulnerability through a process of trial and error. As a first step, the next time you meet someone who can't walk and can't speak and you're not sure what to do, start here. Look at their face, smile, and say loudly and clearly, "Hello." That might be as far as you get. Or if you have more time, you can introduce your name. You can tell them about yourself. You can ask them, "How are you?" If they can't say hello to you back, that's okay. Still say it to them. They will know you are acknowledging their existence as a person. There might be someone in your family who has severe disabilities or in another part of your community. Try to notice what they're included in or excluded from. At the next gathering, you can go to where they are. If they're just there, sitting in their wheelchairs, doing nothing, you can sit next to them. You can tell them about yourself and about your life. The more time you spend with someone like this, the more their hidden power will rub off on you and shape you. The surest way to do that is to become their caregiver. You don't have to go into this as a career. You can do it for a short time, especially in high school or college. If you need to make money during the summer or as a part-time job, this could be a good option. This job is always available and in demand, everywhere. You don't need a certification to do it. When I was a one-on-one caregiver in college, I made more per hour than was available to me anywhere else. Working in caregiving, even for a short season, can increase your self-awareness and your relational skills for the rest of your life. They can't tell you what they need, so you have to try to catch it. You start paying attention to their facial expressions, to slight movements in their arms and legs, to differences in tone between one wordless sound and another. When you learn how to do that, you start paying that kind of attention to everyone in your life. We all have needs that we don't know how to ask for. We need people who will notice what we need when we're afraid, when we're angry, and when we're sad. The poet Mary Oliver says, "Attention is the beginning of devotion." Vulnerability can lead to suffering, or vulnerability can lead to devoted love. In caring for someone else's body and heart, you discover the most basic elements of who you are yourself. People have often asked me, what does someone like my brother understand? What is his cognitive ability? I don't know, except for one thing I am sure of. He knew who people were. He knew his relationship to them. He had different relationships and deeper relationships with some people than with others. He couldn't make words, but he let out a variety of incomprehensible sounds that helped us understand him. Depending on the person, he had different facial expressions or differences in tone. The most important cognitive awareness we have is relational. What is your life without the people in it who love you? When I was young and whenever I walked by his bedroom, my brother would see me. Because of the way he lay in his bed, his face was pointed towards the hallway that I was walking through, passing his room, going into mine. He could hear fine, so sign language didn't aid our communication, but I knew how to fingerspell from a sign language class, so I started a tradition. Every time I went in there, I lowered myself down to be level with his eyes, and I fingerspelled the words, and I said, "I love Josiah." He just held my gaze and smiled. I was in middle and high school at the time, deeply lonely, trying to be the perfect child, but he didn't buy it. He didn't buy my loneliness, and he didn't buy my performing. He assured me there was another option available for how I could live. Most of the people around me did buy my performing, and they didn't know I was lonely because I didn't tell them. My brother, who couldn't walk and couldn't speak, and who spent hours lying in his bed with rashes on his face from all the cloths people used to wipe the saliva he couldn't control coming out of his mouth, he found me, and he knew who I really am. If you have someone in your life who has severe physical disabilities, or if you are considering spending more time with someone like that, I want to encourage you. You will become more aware of your own vulnerability, and you will pay more attention to the state of your soul. Thank you.